I'm sure everyone is aware Limbaugh passed away earlier today at the age of 70.
Philadelphia Eagles quarterback.
Let's take a look, a little retrospective. I think this was put together by the Washington Post.
Freedom is killed off by people claiming that the greater good or the general will or the betterment of the community requires speech patrol.
Rush Limbaugh called himself America's anchorman and a doctor of democracy. He was
a doctor of democracy,
whose bombastic presence made his radio show one of the most popular in history.
He said a number of things that people didn't say on the airwaves, but might have.
I wouldn't, and like, here's the thing, is that left-wing talk radio actually does better in the ratings than right-wing talk radio. It's just that left-wing talk radio doesn't get advertising. Carlott's, like, and that was one of the reasons why, like, I was in consultation with a radio station a few years ago about doing a show, and that was what it came down to, was that I was going to have to pay to do the show myself and have to go out and sell it myself, because they said we can't put car dealerships, we can't put McDonald's, isn't going to fucking advertise on you. And that's the whole reason. So Rush Limbaugh isn't just the most popular. It's basically that the advertising, the people that pump the money into talk radio, preferred his messaging.
Said in the dark of night. And
then he was on all the fucking stations.
What was refreshing to his audience,
I'm pretty sure he was in every fucking market.
Things out loud.
The Rush Limbaugh Show became nationally syndicated in 1988 and is often credited with saving AM radio and leading Republican politics into a new era.
Talk is cheap, and that's what Rush Limbaugh really brings to the airwaves. A 3-hour talk radio program in which it's basically him talking into a microphone.
Limbaugh was known for his controversial statements, be them about politics, women, or minorities. His relentless bashing of liberals helped shape a generation of conservative...
Ugly as fucking tie.
Is a once in a generation.
That tie's ugly too.
It's a combination of smarts, personality, and extremism.
You've also been called arrogant and pompous.
Well, I call it confidence.
And you can certainly argue with the things he said as to whether you agree with them or whether they were proper for...
Where in the fuck did that... You know that man has a little dick. Where did he get confidence from?
Parkinson's disease.
He is moving all around and shaking, and it's purely an act.
He pushed the baseless birther conspiracy theory about Barack Obama. He made race-related comments about then Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Donovan McNabb.
He had his own line of ties? God, that one's ugly too.
I think what we've had here is a little social concern in the NFL. I think the media has been very desirous that a black quarterback do well.
Which ultimately forced Limbaugh's resignation as a commentator on ESPN's Sunday NFL Countdown. In 2015, Limbaugh attacked Georgetown University law student Sandra Fluke. Congressional Democrats had invited her to speak in support of contraceptive coverage mandates for health insurance companies.
Which should be mandated.
Contraception, as you know, can cost a woman over $3,000 during law school. For a lot of students who, like me, are on public interest scholarships, that's...
And it's not just about sex, but even if it was just about sex, it still should be covered.
She's a slut, right? But you're a prostitute. She wants to be paid to have sex.
Republicans and Democrats...
By the way, Rush got caught in the Caribbean.
That the remarks that were made don't have any place in the...
With Viagra, not in his name.
Some of his advertisers. Limbaugh later apologized, but maintained that he was unfairly criticized.
The apology to her over the weekend was sincere.
The fuck it was.
Never really abandoned him. I'm sure some disapprove, but most thought that was part of the Rush Limbaugh shtick.
Limbaugh had notable influence in the Republican Party. His millions of listeners were mostly conservative. Before Trump's presidency,
Jordan Peterson concert? Is that what you're saying?
Officials to hard lines on issues such as immigration, government
Is that JP,
and
JBB,
denial of global
JBP?
Despite not initially endorsing
Oh,
Trump in the
God.
2016 primary, he later fully embraced him as the future of the Republican Party.
We are all
Rush cheated on his dying wife.
in for us.
Trump surprised Limbaugh at his 2020 state.
I think that was his second wife.
Awarded him the Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor.
Exactly. And that's all it. All that was him doing that apology was to give his listeners cover. Oh, he's not a bad guy. He apologized.
And that you inspire, and all of the
And this is a shame that he was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
receiving our country's highest civilian honor, the Presidential.
Complete bullshit.
This came days after Limbaugh announced his.
Oh, and he's acting like he's shocked. He knew he was getting
Lung
it.
cancer wasn't Limbaugh's first health-related battle.
Gigantic piece
In
of shit.
2001, he went deaf from an autoimmune disease, and for months, he continued on air with the help of his staff and a teleprompter. He ultimately received a cochlear implant.
I'm 100% deaf, and I can only hear bionically with these.
Limbaugh also had bouts of addiction to pain medication, and later went to rehab. He told his listeners about his lung cancer in February 2020.
But the upshot is that I have been diagnosed with advanced
Yeah.
He had signed a.
This would have been back in like what, October,
radio show
September, or
just a
something like
month
that.
earlier.
He will be remembered as a giant.
I think he already knew he had cancer, but like that was when he knew it was terminal.
Media. And people will argue over his legacy.
Because like they had been treating it, and I don't think he had told like the public.
Personality was something that few people could project on the air and attract an audience as large as the one he did.
This tribute graphic is like, I wish I could piss on it right now. Donald J. Trump crawled out of his hole this afternoon to call into Fox News and give his thoughts.
President Trump, are you with me?
I am, and it was a great honor to do so. When we gave the Medal of Freedom, it was something special. It was an incredible night. We gave it during the State of the Union address, and it was especially half the room. Half the room went crazy, and the other half the room, they knew he should get it. But it was special, and he was special.
Mr. President, thank you for joining us. When was the last time you spoke with Rush Limbaugh?
3 or 4 days ago. I'd call him just to find out. You know, his fight was very, very courageous, and he was very, very sick.
There was nothing courageous about that sack of
It was
shit.
just something that was not going to be beaten, but you wouldn't know it. And he is married to an incredible woman, Catherine, who really, every time I spoke to him, he would tell me how great she
Who
was.
mocked
He took such
the deaths of
great care. He
people,
was very brave. I mean,
AIDS victims.
He could have been gone 4 months ago. Really, he was fighting till the very end. He was a fighter. And just a great gentleman.
while you were in the White House, how did
He was a bigot, a racist,
he either
a misogynist.
on your message or chose to agree or disagree with the policies you had as commander-in-chief?
A lying sack of
You
shit.
just had Sean on, Sean Hannity, who's incredible. And Sean would say, there is nobody like Rush. Sean was the first to say that I used to say, well, what do you think someday? And he'd say, he's irreplaceable. Rush is irreplaceable, unique. He had an audience that was massive. And, you know, he could do something.
It wasn't that massive.
He would get up in the show.
Saying the audience is massive
would
once again
talk.
because like
Take phone calls where
it's
you know,
on
people
in
call
every
in 2
market.
minutes, and that's sort of easy to do. He would just talk for 2 hours and 3 hours, just talk. And that's not an easy thing to do. And I once asked him, I said, do you study for the show? And he said, actually, I study very hard, which a little bit, Harris said, a little bit surprised me. But he was a fantastic man, a fantastic talent.
Why would that surprise
people, whether they loved him or not?
Fucking Trump is a complete and total idiot. No one in the broadcasting business would be surprised about the fact that Rush does show prep. Despite what we may think about him, and I think he was a gigantic piece of shit, it was still broadcasting history.
Trump wants a...
So this is a segment from his final ever broadcast on February the 2nd.
library. He must never have one. That's the headline of the story. It's a long story.
Trump shouldn't have one.
It's filled with blah, 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 blah. And they are they're deathly afraid that Trump is going to triumphantly return to public life. And I'm not saying triumphantly return to the presidency, but they're not going to be able to stop this. They're not going to be able to stop Trump from having a public life if he wants it.
I don't know about that. I think he's going to be tied up in
and they are waiting
court battles.
Fear for that. They don't know how it's going to manifest. They don't know if it's going to be a press conference.
That's true.
From Mar-a-Lago or a golf club. They don't have the slightest idea. So they're trying to ram through this impeachment business so that they can...
He has lost a lot of weight from just the clip that we saw of him from the fall where he's talking about being diagnosed to now. This was on the 2nd.
He must never have... Who are these people?
Like, look at the way his shirt's just kind of falling off of him. It's kind of hanging there.
If he can raise the money for it, then he can do a library. That's how it happens. Do you know who bankrolled many ex-presidents' libraries in the, shall we say, 2000s and the 1990s? Do you know who did it?
Saudi Arabia?
You know who the primary funders or bankrollees were?
I bet he's going to say the Clinton Foundation.
No, it was not Mr. Soros. It was Prince Bandar El Sultan and his friends from Saudi Arabia.
I was right the first time. Hell yeah.
Do I need to remind you that the king of Saudi, the late king, King Abdullah Abziz El Saud, whatever.
See, he knows what he's talking about.
George W. Bush.
He certainly does do research.
Texas Ranch. And while he was here, the ambassador to the United States from Saudi Arabia was Bandar bin Sultan. I think that was.
I can tell. Like, it's not.
And the Saudis were worried.
No, Rush is most certainly dead. This is the very last video clip of Rush Limbaugh ever.
But no,
thankfully,
the king of Saudi Arabia was for Clinton, I think. I don't know if it was major, but I know he was a participating fundraiser, donor. And the same thing for George W. Bush and maybe George H.W. Bush. That's one of the reasons for the alliance.
He's had a series of guest hosts most of this year.
The point is, if you can raise the money for your library, then it's not up to the Washington Post whether you get one or not, what they're worried about.
If you can suck a con man's cock enough, you can get a Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Can you imagine what the traffic is to the Clinton Library Massage Parlor? Not much, because you have to have a special admission ticket. That's not open to the public. You have a special little buzzer. You put in the palm of your hand, and you have to tell the right person, I'm here for a visit the massage parlor. And if it buzzes, you get in. If it doesn't buzz, you don't. And no, I'm making that up, but wouldn't that be fun?
Nah, Rush, nah. Well, your fucking listeners believed you, I'm sure.
I don't think there's an Epstein wing. Jeffrey Epstein wing, the Clinton Library? No, not here. There may be a Clinton wing at some Epstein property somewhere. But
there might be a Trump wing at some Epstein property.
No, they're worried that it would become the biggest tourist attraction in the country. That's what they're worried about.
No. It'd be just like the Ark encounter in fucking Whitley County, Kentucky. That shit would bomb. A bunch of dumb fucks would go and visit it right away, and it would seem like it was going to be this great success. But after a couple months, it'll be dead. He's not unintelligent. He is crass. The crassness is what I like. Fucking that was funny. The thing about the Clinton massage parlor was funny. That cracked me up. But he's a gigantic piece of shit. There was no redeeming quality about Rush Limbaugh other than the fact that, like, I guess he had a good voice. He can talk. I respect that.